Assuming this isn't your first day on the internet, you've no doubt heard that out-of-tune flute rendition of Celine Dion's My Heart Will Go On that's been memed to death. If you enjoyed that, then maybe you should check out the new game Disaster Band from German developer Productive Keller Studios. It's a whole game based around a stick figure band whistling, drumming, and even kazooing their way through some of the world's most famous musical compositions. And with a silly sense of humor and fun multiplayer mode, this is a game that's guaranteed to charm. But does that mean that you should buy it? That's what we're about to find out when I review Disaster Band. With a name like Disaster Band, I went into this game expecting a farce. With the stick figures and the silly setup, I knew there was at least a small chance that I'd be farting notes to Twinkle Twinkle Little Star or something like that. Thankfully, that is not the case. While certainly goofy, this rhythm game does a good job of walking that line between serious and parody. It offers just enough depth to keep most players satisfied, yet the ability to keep the whole band giggling in delight. Simply put, this is a game where we play along with a wide variety of wildly popular songs that are all in the public domain. I'm talking about some of the most popular compositions of all time, like Wagner's Ride of the Valkyries, Pachebel's Canon, Amazing Grace, In the Hall of the Mountain King, and two holiday classics, Silent Night and We Wish You a Merry Christmas. There are 20 songs in all, most of them you've heard in TV shows, commercials, cartoons, and just going to high school orchestra concerts. Even if you don't know all the names, you definitely know most, if not all, of these songs. The gimmick here is that you perform these songs with 15 different instruments that range from completely normal to absolutely absurd. You'll start out playing along with a bunch of instruments that you might actually find in an orchestra, like a violin, a cello, a trombone, or a choir, only to then graduate to sillier sound makers like a recorder or a kazoo. Before long, we're whistling to Mozart and controlling cat meows to Bach. You know, just as history's greatest composers would have wanted. One thing that I really like about this game is that it takes its time to introduce people to each instrument and lets them play around with them. Is it weird playing Silent Night on a 1,000-year-old Chinese eru? Absolutely. Is a peepo a lute or a guitar? I have no idea. Is there anything cooler than a theremin? No way! This game does such a wonderful job of teaching players about different instruments from all around the world and how they complement or completely ruin the timeless music. From a gameplay perspective, Disaster Band isn't all that different from what we've seen before. This is a game built around you dialing in the right pitch and then pressing the button when prompted. You'll also have to hold and even adjust the pitch for the sustained notes, which mostly just means following the path up and down the screen. As long as you hit the button at the right time, the game does a pretty good job of snapping you to the right pitch, making this one of the easiest rhythm games for beginners to just pick up and play. Now, it is worth mentioning that there are a lot of different ways you can control the game, with at least one of them making the game considerably harder to play. I chose the analog stick to dial in the pitch, but you can also use the motion controls to do the exact same thing. There's also a mode that'll take away that part of the gameplay altogether, making it so that all you have to do is hit the button at the right time. And then there's the opposite of that, which gives you no aim assistance at all, forcing you to be as precise as possible when playing the notes. For a game that could have very easily been a joke experience, Disaster Band kept surprising me. Sure, the gameplay is a bit on the simplistic side, but the game actually goes out of its way to give each song 4 different parts to play. That not only gives solo players a lot more bang for their buck, but it also opens up the 4-player mode, giving each person something different to do. And just when you get sick of playing through Silent Night or Canon for the 20th time, the game reminds you that it supports user-created content. Although it's definitely not obvious at first, there's a whole mod section tucked away inside of Disaster Band that allows you to download a wide range of songs, including some extremely recognizable compositions. Although this part of the game feels like it's practically hidden, it certainly offers the potential for near unlimited music, and maybe even different styles of music, which is great news for anybody who's sick of playing through 300-year-old classics. Unfortunately, as of right now, there just aren't a whole lot of songs to download. That's a shame, because there aren't a lot of songs packaged with the game. And to make matters worse, the 20 songs that do come with Disaster Band are all annoyingly short. Most of the songs tap out at just 2 minutes, with at least one dipping down to a mere 60 seconds. What's frustrating is that these are small clips from significantly longer songs, so every song feels weirdly anticlimactic. It's a shame that there's not a longer version of some of the more famous classics. Another problem with the game is that it's simply too easy. Although you can adjust the difficulty by using the motion controls, I didn't find that to be challenging enough to keep me playing the songs for more than a few times. And without a way to see how my scores compared to the rest of the world, there wasn't a lot of incentive for me earning more points. The multiplayer mode does make up for some of these problems, but the simplicity will keep this one from being a party favorite. One minor complaint that I had about the game was the weird sterile presentation. While the pitch highway is presented well, and it's always easy to see, I wasn't a huge fan of the video clips playing under it. Sometimes it's an animated Santa Claus, while other times it's elderly women dancing or men playing violin while wearing a VR headset. None of this really connects to what you're playing, and it looks like the kind of stock footage that you would buy at one of those royalty-free websites. Even with a few problems, I find myself wanting to recommend Disaster Band. Not because it's particularly funny or even challenging, but rather because it's a great introduction to the wonderful world of musical instruments and classical compositions. This would be a great game for a kid just starting out in the orchestra or band. Yet adults will also have fun with the multiplayer mode and the downloadable music. Look, I don't care what the name is. This rhythm game is far from a disaster. Well, not quite the parody game that you might be expecting. Disaster Band is a fun and silly exercise in mixing and matching crazy instruments with some of the most popular songs of all time. This is your chance to whistle your way through Pachebel's Canon or play the Imperial March from Star Wars on a kazoo. Younger gamers interested in band and orchestra will get the most out of this, but Disaster Band is good fun for all ages. Just know that it's a bit on the easy side, and a lot of the songs end before they even get started. I'm not sure this game deserves a standing ovation, but I will give it a hearty round of applause. Bravo! Hey, thanks for watching our review. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that I post new reviews and features almost every day. Now, here's the question I have for you. Do you play any musical instruments? Yeah, that's right, this is not about gaming, but rather real life. Weird, huh? If you're wondering, I've been playing guitar for most of my life, as well as singing. Maybe one day you'll see a musical episode of the review crew. Now, let me hear your musical acumen in the comments below. In other news, we'll be back later this week with more reviews and something really cool. That is, unless Nintendo adds more classic games to their online service, then you're gonna see a review crew episode. I guess we'll see what happens. While you wait for that, I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then,